All right, guys, welcome back. We made it. We successfully finished podcast number 1, and we have our very first guest on the show. We're super excited to have them. We got the Philly Phenom in the building, or should I say in the Riverside studio. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, guys?
Certainly. My name is Lauren Barone. I'm co-owner of the Philadelphia Phenoms. It's one of the newest franchises within the Professional Grappling Federation, also known as the PGF. We're getting ready to debut our brand new team in season 9, starting in March.
I'm
Let's
Joe
go.
Barone, co-owner of the Philadelphia Phenoms. Glad to be here with you guys this morning.
Let's go.
And for those of you that don't know, this is the Jiu Jitsu Underdog podcast. It is the show dedicated to the up and comers, the guys out there grinding away, scrappy in the grassroots, in the trenches. So we're trying to shed a light on some of the people you may not have heard or seen in the Jiu Jitsu community. I myself have my own Jiu Jitsu brand. I'm the founder of Nation Athletic, and I'll let the man, the myth, the legend, Jay Rones, introduce himself.
Yeah, for those who don't know, John Romero, also known as Jay Romes, head coach. I just started my own jiu-jitsu organization. Oh, not organization, excuse me. I guess you could say promotion as well. So I'm super hyped to have Philadelphia Phenoms in here so I can, get to learn their story and their why. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for coming, guys.
So glad to be here this morning.
Yeah, same. And I'm happy you guys made it. I mean, thank God for virtual because the snow here in Jersey is wild, but I can imagine PA. I know you guys get crazy amount of snow out there. But yeah, I'm super excited. So might as well let's just kick it off now. Philadelphia Phenoms. When did you guys start? I know you guys, again, you mentioned earlier working with PGF, which is sick. That's a fire collaboration. How did you guys get to that level? Like, or just start from the very beginning? Like, what made you guys get into this space of throwing events?
Yeah, so Joe had become a fan of the PGF and started watching and streaming the episodes on YouTube. And he brought it to my attention, and we both kind of realized, hey, this is different. It's not something that the typical promotions do. This is a league, a professional grappling league, and it has its own franchise teams. It has 5 players on each team, and the rule set is super unique. You get 6 points for that choke. You're getting 3 points for a joint lock. And then if you secure a submission in under 1 minute, you're getting an extra point. So we really like that. We also enjoyed the addition of the shot clock, which incentivizes energy and fast pace and submission seeking athletes. So we were really sold on that idea. And then the next thing you know, I'm on a plane to Vegas, talking to Brandon McCatherine in person, sitting on one of the white couches and just viewing this experience for myself. From start to finish, it was a true VIP experience, unlike no other sporting event I had attended before. We were like in a ballroom setting. The guys were grappling hard, sometimes running into the white couches, and it's fun to be in that action front and center. And then I knew at that moment that it was the right move for us, that we belonged in the PGF, and I wanted to be part of it in some capacity, and that was the best fit for us.
And I would also
That's sick.
add, it's unique in that it's really a league more so than, an event or a promotion, technically speaking. They're really focusing on building themselves out like the NHL, like the NBA with franchise teams that people can follow and grow and love and hate and all that goes along with being a sports fan.
I was going to say, for the guys listening that maybe don't know what PGF is, you want to just kind of give them a rundown, because it really is a very, very different promotion to maybe some of the people that used to watch in IBJJF.
Yeah, it's so the PGF, like Lauren mentions, the Professional Grappling Federation, going into its 9th season of competition. It started out during COVID in 2020 in Decatur, Alabama at 10th Planet Decatur. It grew to sort of outsize itself in that facility, and then they moved it into a church. And then the folks that co-own the PGF League, Zoltan Bathari and Grace Gracie, they came down to Alabama, saw what it was and what it had the potential to be, became involved in it as league owners, and then moved, sort of the action to where it is in Las Vegas.
The bright lights.
Yeah.
So describe what makes the PGF different. Like, why is it so exciting?
So, if you think about the rule set, it's 6 minutes submission only. In the regular season, if the match doesn't end with a submission, it just goes to a draw. If it's the individual player playoffs, you do sort of EBI like overtime. However, there's only back control. All submissions are legal. What makes it unique relative to other rule sets, I would say, is really is the shot clock. It's focused on maintaining activity, ensuring that there's always progression forward, regardless of if you're in an offensive or a defensive position, you could get called for inactivity. The shot clock goes on 20 seconds and you got to, pick up the pace and move, or you're going to be starting down in the referee's sort of a wrestling position with pretty much disadvantaged and turtle. You think about other rule sets like IBJJF you referenced, those are more traditional jujitsu points based. And, every person who's competed in jujitsu has fought in that rule set. We both have. John, I know you have.
Yeah.
You can game the system. It can get boring, and you can end up winning a match with like half passing someone's guard for an advantage point. But that's that rule set. We have a lot of respect for it, but is it the best thing to watch? No, we believe that the PGF and the way it's constructed, it's in your face action. If you look at the qualifying tournaments to get into the draft for this season, the matches have been very quick. Under, I think, like 2.5 minutes has been the general average time of a match. So
And then the Las Vegas Kings last night came a conclusion of all the PGF qualifiers. We had JJ Bowers winning that. And then him and John Moyer were both selected to join the season 9. Brett Moyer, sorry, were selected to join the season 9 PGF draft.
That's sick. I think I saw that on Instagram.
Yeah. Excited for those guys.
I also like that you guys also, what is it? And correct me if I'm wrong. If they hit like a certain sub, or if they hit like what you guys call a break, you guys pay the athlete too, something like that. That's what I
So
saw on the last.
really, there's something called money bags that athletes can earn for doing essentially sick moves. If you hit a big judo throw, you're probably going to get a money bag from Zoltan. He's a 4th degree judo black belt and also a jiu-jitsu black belt as well. 5-finger death punch. Also, if you hit like an awesome sub. I remember last season, for example, Derek Rayfield got taken down and then he almost immediately hit a dead orchard off of that. So the guy that got the takedown got a money bag, and then Rayfield hit that sub and got a money bag too. It can really come at any moment.
Additionally, these athletes are getting paid. If you're on an active roster, like in the active rotation, one of those core 5 players, you will be receiving a salary. So there's that. There's the opportunity to earn the money bags, which is at the discretion of whoever's throwing the money bags out. In addition to that, there are also prizes at the end of the season for whoever wins.
Yeah, so for the winning team gets $25,000 and it's split amongst the 5 players. And then the individual athlete that wins the playoffs earns $20,000 for themselves. Back in season 8, the winner also earned a UFC BJJ match.
Not to throw shade out there, but how much do you get for winning an IBJJF World Championship?
As far as I'm aware, nothing.
Sorry, I gotta get it in. They're like my pet peeve.
The follow-up question, J. Rome, sign up.
Absolutely. And we definitely get that question. So prior to each season, the different franchises will host qualifying tournaments. We hosted ours last Saturday. The Kings hosted theirs last night. And prior to that, the Alabama Twisters held a qualifier, as well as the PGF itself held a qualifier. All the PGF qualifiers are currently over, and we'll be headed into the draft on February 4th. There's also some scouting that's done. To my knowledge, all of those spots have been filled for season 9, but the high level scouts are BMAC, among other seasoned black belts,
Is
and
that one of the scouts right
they
there,
will
the
kind
cute
of.
little furry one?
Yes, and so she will beat on the gate upstairs once she hears us talking because she wants to be front and center of the action and she really wants to be a part of it. And she's just kind of walking around and looking at us to see what we're doing.
So this question may not really pertain to you guys, but kind of. With that being said, with the amount of different like leagues and promotions and I guess I don't want to use event again, but events, what would you say is the biggest challenge right now that you guys face? You know, like with all this, I guess, level of competition as far as now we went from only finishers, right? IBJJF and maybe another sub only tournament to now there's PGF, there's Men of
Yeah.
War, there's JRI, there's a bunch, What would you say is the biggest challenge that you guys find yourself facing
Yeah.
during this?
I would say the biggest current challenge is, making jujitsu palatable to watch for people that don't do jujitsu. I think that's really the shell you got to crack to make make this something more substantive. Right now the target audience is really men 18 to 45, and probably more than 90% of the folks that watch are jujitsu practitioners themselves. I think if we can figure out how to reach those populations, whether it's young kids, whether it's men and women that don't do jujitsu.
I think that I just want to add on to that. And part of my goal is to create a welcoming fan base and like just to let the fans know that you can be any age and be a fan of jujitsu or any ability and watch jujitsu. You don't have to do jujitsu to be a fan of jujitsu, just like you don't have to be a football player to be a fan of football. So I want to establish that welcoming foundation and set the next generation of kids up so that maybe they'll see someone like Andrew Cockle playing on the PGF in season 9 and say, hey, I want to be like that when I grow up. I want to be a pro grappler too, and just kind of plant the seed for those future fans and maybe future phenoms as well.
Yeah, that's sick.
It's crazy that as long as jiu-jitsu's been around, I feel like this conversation is still popping up. It's like jiu-jitsu people are great at jiu-jitsu, but sometimes I think we're all a little bit stuck in this jiu-jitsu bubble, and you forget what it looks like from the outside in. Like I've been trying to get my wife to start for the longest, and she just watches. I don't want to keep bashing on IBJJF because they're a great organization, but she watches some of those matches, and she's like, "Man, this just looks boring and horrible."
Now, or they're like, how do you guys roll with all that sweat all over the place?
Right.
That's one of the newbies who don't know much. That's the first thing I run into.
Right. But how big do you think the sport could get if we sort of had every competition and organization out there that had more exciting rule sets? Do you think it would be, on primetime telly ever?
I think we have a lot of work to do to get there, but I think it's something that's within the realm of possibility. Like I said earlier, I think you have to crack through that or break through that or break down that wall of getting people to watch it that don't practice the sport. I think if you compare it to MMA, like UFC, we had it's different in terms of what we're actually watching.
And adding on to that, I think there is an element of character role playing that audiences might like to see. And it doesn't have to be something created from scratch. A person can take their own natural persona and have that translate to fans and, turn that up a notch. And that can really create a cool memorable character. Like if someone likes to play a heel or a baby
Yep,
face in
that's
real
true.
life, the fans will like it or not like it. And that makes for good jujitsu too.
My buddy Anthony, he competed on that, and he wasn't really. I guess he just naturally became the heel, and look, it got him popular, and a lot of people love seeing him compete because of it. So I agree with the whole. You can kind of just lean heavy on that persona to help elevate either your status or, get people to start watching more. I do agree with that.
And I think it's always been one of my pet peeves as well with jujitsu athletes. Like some of the interviews, I'm like, I'm falling asleep. It's like we need a little personality. Obviously, we've got Gordon who's got tons of personality, Craig who's got tons of personality. But then I feel like sometimes people jump on the bandwagons a little bit and then they just follow what they're seeing online. Whereas I think, it'd be really cool to see, a Craig 2.0, like a new Craig come out or a new Gordon. And I definitely think we got to step up our trash talking game because some of the trash talking in jiu-jitsu is just, it's not good.
I think a great example of someone stepping into their own persona is Chris Olivo. He's known as the Leopard King, and he just really embodies that design. He's kind of created that whole persona, and he moves like a Leopard King. If there were ever a Leopard King, he moves like one. He dresses like one. He handles himself like one, and he definitely is a great example of stepping into a character that's authentic to his own personality, and we love to see that.
What advice would you give to athletes that are trying to sort of balance um finding that persona and not having it seem fake or cringe? But obviously the jiu-jitsu has to be there too. There's no good having all personality and you just get subbed in 5 seconds every match. So what advice would you give to athletes in trying to get noticed, stand out, maybe get sponsorship or get on some of these bigger platforms and promotions?
Yeah, I think really at the end of the day, you have to be true to who you are as a person. People in present day 2026, they're going to be able to tell like if you're faking a persona, and then they'll be off put by that. I think we have another great example of a persona. One of our signed athletes, Derek Rayfield. He goes by Derek Rodman Rayfield, and I'm sure you guys are familiar with the mid 1990s Chicago Bulls championship teams and sort of that villainous heel character that goes out and, does what he needs to do to help his team win.
That's sick. Well, as far as jujitsu for you guys, how long have the both of you been training?
So, I mean, we've been training a little over 3 years now. We like to train as much as we can, usually like 5 days a week, making sure, we're going to classes, drilling, ecological jujitsu, open mats.
And I am competing often. I competed probably 10 to 12 times last year. I probably lost count. I had lots of losses, but quite a few wins as well. So I've been an active athlete. I absolutely love competing. And, it can be tough to balance everything. And I'm really finding that out as we round the corner into PGF season 9. So I'm definitely having to prioritize things, and I may not be able to compete as much as I did last year, but I'm still going to give it my all, and pour myself into everything I do to do my best. You know what? I just wanted to say really quick that we're all crushing it during an active blizzard. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I'm looking out the window here in Pennsylvania, Eastern Pennsylvania, and it's supposed to snow for like almost like
24 hours.
hours straight. We probably are nearing like a foot of snow as it is. And shout out to everyone out there braving the blizzard and doing the cool things at home.
Yeah, for sure. I wish I could train right now, but you know what? We still get to talk jujitsu.
Is jiu-jitsu a full-time thing for you? Are you trying to make it a full-time thing? Are you close to making it a full-time thing? Where are you guys with that?
For sure. So for myself, I started out doing jujitsu a little over 3 years ago. And as a lifelong person that's a fan of martial arts in general, growing up watching Ninja Turtles, growing up watching WWE, watching UFC, and it started out as a hobby because I was inspired by seeing Hoist Gracie, how he handled himself in matches. And that inspired me to start jujitsu. And then, the story of us watching the PGF, which led to us buying the franchise. So our hobby kind of transitioned into a full-time job, at least for myself. And did I set out to do it that way? No, but that's the way the cards fell for me. And I couldn't be more grateful to be in this situation where my hobby did become my full time job because it is absolutely my passion. I have so much to learn from so many people, literally everyone I talk to, whether it's on this podcast, whether learning in class, from the high level pro athletes and everyone in between. It's all a great learning experience for me. And for Joe, what about you?
Yeah, I would agree as well. Hopefully it evolves into something that's all that we do. But, I'm a pharmacist by training. I still do, that work full time. But, we're definitely looking to, take the world by storm and make this, substantial.
And another thing is, I think in a way, we're kind of viewed as the underdog. We're one of the newer teams debuting in the PGF. We are from kind of a grassroots organization. We don't have a ton of owners. We don't have like a ton of like experience with working with pros quite yet, but we're learning and finding our footing as we go. And I think there's a story within that to be told and figuring it out as we go, learning from others. That can be captivating for some people to watch because we didn't start out perfect. We didn't start out with all of our T's crossed and all of our I's dotted with perfect posters on social media or perfect videos or perfect editing. Will we get there one day? Perhaps. But I think there's something special in that, in the learning process and figuring it out.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much jujitsu right there. That's literally jujitsu right there, right? You're starting off as white belts in this game, and then now you guys are just elevating and getting better and better as a time, as you can say, quote unquote, mat time. The promotion is going to keep getting better, or the promotion is going to keep getting bigger and better and better. I'm excited for you guys. I love what I'm seeing. So I'm a huge fan from Jersey, so I'm happy you guys are here.
Thanks.
Of course. I know, Joe, I feel like I've been following Joe for a while. Right, Joe? You and I have been kind of following each other on Instagram for a bit, I think.
Yeah. Well, speaking of New Jersey, I did win ADCC New Jersey Open, so I may be the king of New Jersey.
Yeah, let's go. I took second place, so I don't know. I'm the second best king in my division. As you guys know, I run my own promotion, so like I was really excited to have you guys on to kind of hear your thoughts and some of the challenges you guys face. That way, I know when I run into certain things, I'm like, all right, like it's not me. It's kind of a everybody thing. So, and that's what I love about our podcast because a lot like Mark, Mark's been running a successful jujitsu brand for a while now. So, he's kind of like an OG in this game when it comes to starting from the bottom and then, elevating his game. And then, there's us who are just kind of starting. You guys been, your foot in the door already for a while. So yeah, it's cool to learn from you guys. I feel like the little brother in the room right now. Little brother listening to
Well,
his older siblings talk about how they made it.
I was just gonna say, like Lauren mentioned, we recently last week did our first PGF qualifying event, and just having gone through the process of what it takes to run something like that, which is essentially a 1 day event. We definitely have a newfound appreciation and empathy for folks like yourselves that go around and do that on a recurring basis. 'Cause for those that don't know out there that are listening, it is a lot of work, and there is stuff that you don't think about until it's there happening and you're confronted with an issue and you have to troubleshoot it on the spot.
yeah, for sure. And huge shout out to Zach Maslany for letting us use his venue at 10th Planet Bethlehem. He's the Finishers CEO. Everything could have gone wrong that day. We had like a blizzard to some degree last Saturday, and we didn't know if people would be able to arrive safely. So what I did was I put out a story on Instagram that was like, okay, our qualifier is still going on. However, please only come if you feel like you can travel and you feel like you can arrive safely. And we had an astounding turnout. We had nearly 30 athletes sign up for one bracket for our first event. That was absolutely, we were blown away by that. Of course, there were a few that couldn't make it, but we still had an excellent turnout. And despite the inclement weather conditions, these athletes showed up on those mats. They poured their hearts into it. They brought that high action and energy we love to see at the PGF. And it was just an all around great event. I think we had around an 85 submission percent rate. And that was great as well. And the winner, Jaden Groner, he had 5 matches, 5 wins. They were all submissions in under 5 minutes of total mat time.
And you really, in that event, you saw a wide array of submission techniques. You saw the Gojani Kosovo cradle. We had a twister. We had what we believe was the first omoplata in PGF history. So, you know, great stuff out there. You know, you had all the guys killing each other for this draft spot and, you know, coming from, I think as far away as California and Western Canada to come compete for this spot.
So one of the things I wanted to ask you guys, just going back a bit, you said you know you just recently got into this. You would consider yourselves underdogs. Hey, what's up, guest? What's this little guy's name?
This is Bessie the ferret. She's 2 years old, and in the background of a lot of my podcasts that I do, you'll hear banging like someone is almost beating on a drums. There's this plexiglass gate upstairs. They're free roaming. They have their own room. But this one loves to beat on the gate with her paws because she loves to be front and center of the action. She wants to be, she comes to us to be part of this podcast. She loves
She's
the attention. She wants to be a guest.
quite possibly the best looking guest on the show. But I was going to ask you guys. So you mentioned that you recently got into this and you bought the franchise. So you know, obviously, this show is kind of a bit of a behind the scenes of sort of the jiu-jitsu industry and people trying to make businesses or full-time careers off jiu-jitsu. Explain, like, to the listeners that maybe don't understand what a franchise is, how it works, and why you decided to even buy a jiu-jitsu franchise in the first place.
Yeah, so you know, it is a professional sports team. So if you think about either an individual or a group of people, you know, buying stakes in a team, you know, it's really the same thing conceptually, regardless of whatever sport you're looking at. Lauren and I are the only owners of the Phenoms, so we co-own it together. Some of the other teams have differing, you know, ownership structures that we can't really, you know, necessarily get into. But yeah, the process of actually acquiring it was, you know, very very fluid and simple. Really, just a simple business transaction at day's end. In terms of, you know, what our ownership responsibilities are, you know, we have to make sure, you know, obviously that, you know, we remain solvent as a business. We, you know, we hire a coach, we hire a general manager, we sign our athletes and get them on contracts. We recently opened a position for a partnership acquisition specialist. So if anyone out there is listening and wants to do that sort of work, you know, we're looking for, you know, someone to come into that role, maybe multiple individuals. So we expect that as we grow and as the league grows, you know, their goal is ultimately to get to 32 teams like the NFL. Right now we're at 4, so we got a ways to go. But we expect probably more teams in season 10 of the PGF, and, you know, only to continue growing in its vastness. You know, right now we're sort of holding it down as the only team on the both in the Northeast as well as the East Coast. So we hope to eventually see teams like this in every major city.
It would be great to kind of have a team set foot in New York City. I think that would be great competition, great classic rivalry. So I would love to see more teams unfold in the East Coast, maybe Florida as well.
Boston.
Boston, yeah, that would be nice to see too. I want to see teams cropping all over the United States, and I think that's exactly what will happen. I think it's catching on, and we caught on early, thankfully, and it's going to spread like wildfire because people will see that premium pro grappling experience and the sustainability of the league and start to see those faces form from the franchises, like if they have someone returning consecutive years and kind of becomes a fan favorite for a team. I think that's a special element as well. And the structure of our team currently, besides myself and Joe as the co-owners, we have hired Stephen Aiken, who's a 10th Planet Black Belt, as the general manager. And then we have Chris Olivo, who is our head coach for season 9. He actually runs his own gym in Las Vegas called Potential Jiu Jitsu. I've visited his gym before, fantastic place. And he actually offered it up for the athletes of the Phenoms to train at for season 9. It's a cool facility. And they've also got like a cold plunge and a sauna, which I'm sure the athletes are going to enjoy for recovery. And then we have our 2 signed reserve players. We have Derek Rayfield coming out of 10P Las Vegas under Casey Halstead and Andy Varilla. And then we have Andrew Cockle, who's kind of a local favorite, more or less beloved by the jiu-jitsu community, well seasoned and experienced on many different promotions and a great winning history. Happy to have that local guy. He's kind of from the greater Philly area. He was born in the greater Philly area. So having him as part of this grassroots organization is super important to us. And we're hoping that authenticity translates to the fans.
And he's, to speak more about him, he's held every championship of every promotion between New York City and probably DC, maybe even further down south. He may not be a household name, nationwide, but he definitely is in this region. And
He's a
we
community
think
favorite.
that, he's going to surprise a lot of people this season and go out and get those kills and breaks and score a lot of points.
And we definitely believe in him, as we will with each one of our athletes and staff. We want to make sure they're supported. So what we're also doing is for the athletes that are signed to the Philadelphia Phenoms, some perks of them being on the team is that their Airbnb stays are covered by us, the Philly Phenoms team, for the entire duration of them being in Las Vegas for season 9. So they don't have to worry about their stay. We're also covering travel to and from practices at Chris Olivo's gym and to and from match nights. We're also doing a weekly team dinner that's covered by the team to kind of foster that sense of community and camaraderie to establish that foundation as well. So we're really excited going into season 9.
Awesome. So what's, I guess, what would you say is the motivation for starting or buying the franchise? Are you trying to put on new athletes, or is this something where you think it could really blow up? So you're trying to get in, early before everyone else jumps on the bandwagon. What's the motivation behind starting the Philly Phenom?
I would definitely agree with those points. I would also say trying to bring jujitsu to more prominence nationwide. We know it is the fastest growing combat sport, but we want to make it the fastest growing sport, period. That's one of our goals as team owners. It's the PGF's, one of their missions. I would also say, if you think about other well-known, events or promotions, they may be periodic in that they're one event on one day. Maybe they happen 3 times a year. A lot of them don't pay athletes. The PGF is really an avenue for high-level competitive athletes to, maybe even earn a living doing the sport. That's all they need to do.
Absolutely. One of our big missions is to create opportunities for athletes. And when we see people out there working super hard who aren't getting the recognition that they deserve, of course, you can't recognize everybody all the time, but we can create opportunities for these athletes. And it's something very special to see someone working hard, getting an opportunity on that big professional stage to shine and do what they can, showcasing their talent.
I think this is sick. Hearing you guys speak is like the same reason why I wanted to start my promotion here in Jersey. You might have just motivated someone to start his own, let's say, a PGF qualifier here in Jersey now. And with Andrew, I kind of to second what you guys spoke. who's a dog. He's come to Jersey a few times to train at the Bodega Pro sessions with myself. Yeah, Andrew the Uncut Cockerel. He's an animal. You definitely got a really good pickup on that one. But I love the fact that we got similar whys. I think you guys already answered this, but the kind of one of the questions I had, and I was curious to know, what would you say is the biggest game changer for you guys since working with the PGF?
You want to take that?
The biggest game changer. I wasn't used to talking and networking with so many different people. So that was kind of a different and new thing to me. I'm learning like how to speak more publicly. I'm trying to get over like a shyness, but it's happening organically. With I wasn't as comfortable speaking as I am now. I started off kind of trying to figure it out. And I think my public speaking skills are getting a little better each day. My networking skills are getting a little better. So it's not only sharpening me professionally, it's sharpening me as a person. And I think that jujitsu as a whole does that. It can not only give you skills in martial arts, it can help you as a person. It can help you gain people skills, networking skills. And I just think that that puzzle piece fits into the grand scheme of things of the motivation behind wanting to get this franchise because we pour our hearts into it and we have a true passion and enjoyment for jujitsu. And we wouldn't be involved in this endeavor if we didn't have that genuine passion.
Yeah, I'd say thank you for
Yeah, I
answering.
definitely think a lot of people, I think a lot of people sort of when they look from the outside in and they see people trying to start businesses or running businesses within jujitsu, I think they have a very underestimated view of just what it takes to start a business in jiu-jitsu. So, I can definitely relate to learning those new skills because from running an apparel brand, my background's not necessarily in e-com and apparel. I started in retail and hospitality, so I had a good grasp of numbers. But some of the most random skills I never thought I would have picked up, I've got from starting an apparel brand. So, kind of on that note, what I guess two questions. What advice would you give to someone looking to start a business or try and make money from jujitsu or a living out of jujitsu? And sort of what's the most random skill you've picked up from working within the industry?
Definitely. So, my biggest piece of advice would be to choose something you are truly passionate about. If it's something you're kind of lukewarm about or something you don't particularly like, there's a good chance that it's not going to go well. I very well could be wrong, but I think that having that passion for jujitsu laid the foundation for us transitioning into this endeavor because not only were we doing jujitsu most nights of the week, but we were watching tournaments and promotions. And then we started watching the PGF League. So we were extremely invested in that. And to someone that's a new business owner or potentially looking at owning a business, make sure you're researching, live the business first, experience it in every way you can. Like jujitsu was a hobby for us. We've been to different jujitsu promotions, competed in it. We were starting to learn the business side of things. Joe is well versed in business. You want to add on to that?
Yeah, I would also just add we this wasn't our first business that we've owned. We used to do Airbnb rentals when we lived in the Memphis, Tennessee area. Really ran those primarily as her thing. And she grew that business to be one of the most popular, if not the most popular Airbnbs in Memphis. And we even became internationally known for it. We became known as sort of if you live in Australia and you're coming to Memphis, Tennessee for whatever reason, you're staying at our Airbnb because of we eventually moved from that area and sold those properties.
Yeah, the Airbnb was so popular that we literally had people coming to us saying, "We want to make you this offer and buy you out." So when we got an offer that we liked, we got out of that business, but it was successful and it helped pave the way to get where we are today. It helped give us those strong business skills that we needed to kind of navigate and carve our own path.
And
That's it.
how important would you say that is? Like, because again, it sounds like we've got a similar story where I started in a very, very different business or area to jiu-jitsu. I was flipping burgers and figuring out how to make restaurants profitable. So, you would think on the surface that's got absolutely nothing to do with choking people out and making t-shirts, but the skills I learned there definitely helped me start my apparel brand. So for new people starting or considering starting a business, I think sometimes they don't think about these extra skills that they need. So would you say that the Airbnb business really helped you in sort of figuring out how you wanted to start working in the jiu-jitsu industry?
Absolutely. It definitely set the foundation for the skills that I would use. And going back even farther than that, when I was a child, I worked in my family's shoe store. I learned how to calculate sales tax, how to give discounts, how to write up gift certificates, how to do inventory and restocks, how to lift heavy boxes, how to greet people, sell shoes to customers. I learned good customer service skills and just a host of things that came along with that. And just kind of working as a child, that even laid more of a foundation, for my business skills, which would help me today.
Yeah, I think it's funny because I always joke with my old friend back in New York who started his own gym, and he used to, because I would always be like, "Come on, let's record. We got to post on IG. We got to do some brainstorming on new drops," and like always trying to push him to do the business side. And he was like, "Nah, I just want to train. I'm tired of this. I don't want to do all of this." He now has his own gym, so he fully understands the struggle.
Now he has John Romero to push to help him with these ideas now. Yeah, I like even about you too, Mark, because I know you said that your wife was heavily involved also, and like hearing Joe and Lauren talk, you know, from what I gather, from what I'm noticing, a solid foundation of a team is what really is going to get you there. So I think even to you too, Mark.
Keep going. We'll make it work.
I think it's pretty inspiring, again, husband and wife, family owned. I'm a huge supporter of some like, this is technically a local owned and operated business, family owned and operated business. And just seeing what I'm learning from this is if you have a good person to have your back through all this, good support system, you guys can really accomplish everything. So I think it's cool seeing, just the husband and wife dynamic on both, from Mark's side, Lauren's side, and Joe's side. Just want to say that's pretty cool to see. So it's goals right there on this side, you know.
Thank you so much. We appreciate the kind words, and I really want to thank like the jiu-jitsu community on the East Coast, like Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, all these surrounding areas. We've had such an outpouring of support and people reaching out to us saying they like what they're doing or interested in how it works. And we're just truly grateful to help grow those grassroots as a franchise. And we hope to put on a great season for season 9 and the PGF debut, and we're beyond excited to round the corner into the February 4th PGF draft, which will be live streamed on the PGF YouTube to see who our remaining 3 players are to round out the team. So really getting pumped for that.
I'll for sure be tuning into
Awesome.
that.
So I
Hopefully,
was going to ask you guys, it's kind of like flipping the topic a little bit. What would you say has been the biggest challenge with sort of starting your franchise that maybe people aren't aware of out there?
Say, in terms of sort of the newness of it all has kind of been a challenge. I think, we're going back and forth trying to, explain who and what we are, what the PGF is. I think it's something, again, if you're speaking to people that are outside of the jiu-jitsu community itself, they kind of don't know and, we're trying to improve upon that every day. And, helping people to understand we're a professional sports team. We're not like a amateur youth travel basketball team or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely tough because I think people see the Instagram page and then they just automatically assume, "Yeah, I get picked up by these guys." So I get full of DMs with like, their page is on private. They got one post and they're like, sponsor me. I'm the next big thing. And I'm like, I'm sure you might be amazing. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing out. Maybe I got to start following these people back and giving them sponsorship deals. But what, like, with the athletes, what advice would you give to them on picking up sponsorships? Like what's important from a franchise owner when you're looking at the athletes?
That's a great question. One of the things is that you should have a consistent social media presence. It's not solely about athleticism these days. Back in the days before social media, it was probably strictly based on talent. But these days, sponsorships will want to see people shining on and off the mats. So definitely tap into that unique personality. Everyone's different and unique. So definitely, shine with that authenticity and show that on social media. Document what you're doing and what your likes are, and your followers will find you. Don't try to cater to someone that doesn't feel authentic. Just be you. That's the best advice I could probably give.
What I would also say too is for athletes that are looking to get sponsored by whether it's gear companies or whatever your brand is, people are always watching you. So, if you're that athlete that, loses your match and then you go and like punch a hole in the wall and it's filmed, that brand's probably not going to be looking at you unless it's, not the best brand. So just that sort of caveat to this all.
Just be yourself and your people will find you.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I think social media has definitely changed the game for me too. Because when I first started the brand to now, how I look at working with potential athletes, before it used to be I go on their social media page. How often were they competing? How many medals did they win? It was more about the jiu-jitsu. Now I feel kind of sad or bad in a way, but looking at athlete pages, the jiu-jitsu is probably one of the last things that I look at because it's all about reach and engagement. Because I can make the best gear in the world, or you guys can have the best franchise in the world, but if no one knows about you, then it's all for nothing, and it's so hard to get eyeballs on what you're doing these days because the algorithms are so kind of finicky and specific about what they push. I don't know, John, have you had that with your organization or getting recognized as an athlete too?
I know my journey's been pretty it's been fun, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. I joke around with my one buddy. My one buddy's like one of the best in the world. And it's just like I don't want to say I made it. I really feel like I haven't. So like I guess the competitor of me wants to win that major accomplishment. But then the business side of me is just like I want to do big things, kind of like the Philadelphia Phenoms. But I would say I got myself out there with the most mid jujitsu, putting my body on the line. Like I'm not. How do I put this? Because I don't want to sound conceited. I don't want to sound. I don't. I'm not a bum in jujitsu, but I'm also not the best in jujitsu. But to kind of circle back to what you were saying, I am super active on social media. So I guess my Instagram makes it look a little prettier than what it is, if that makes sense. But yeah, I guess, right? Like, for example,
Absolutely.
I competed yesterday at Men of War, and I feel like the competition part was the second question where everyone's approaching me as a businessman now. Where it's like, originally I do like to scrap, like that's originally what I'm here for, But yeah, I guess to answer your question, I feel like people do approach me more as a business guy now, more than the competitor, which is a little frustrating because I still train twice, almost three times a day, and I still put in the hard work. I sacrifice a little bit more than I should at times to get better. But yeah, that's to answer your question. Yeah, they see me more as the social media guy now, business guy, more than the competitor until they see me compete. Where I'm fighting a 300-pound man, or I'm fighting someone who's 2, 3 belts higher than me. They're like, "Oh, this guy can actually scrap." So, yeah. I'm hoping that, this year I do have a big match. I don't wanna put it out there too early, but, me and Max ran into each other yesterday, and we kinda figured out, but me and Max Livingston going against each other, I think Fury Grappling.
Nice.
Excited for that match. He's a dog. We both have similar styles in a way, but obviously he's very successful in what he does, so I'm really training hard. I've been locked in the last half months on specifically that match. So yeah, everyone who's in the way before that match is just in the way. Like I don't like looking past my opponents, but I'm very dialed in for this one. I'm already on weight too, and we still have like a month and some change. So yeah, let's go.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Thank you so much. I know he's a one of your guys, right? Philly guys, you know, Jersey, Philly.
Yeah.
It'll be Jersey versus Philly for just one day, and then we can be best friends after. God bless you.
We need like jiu-jitsu rivalries like we have in football or soccer, English football. So like cities versus cities. Like I'm from Manchester originally. We've got like massive rivalry with Liverpool and
Yeah.
London, and we need that in jiu-jitsu. Like city to city beef. I think I'll make it more exciting. And then we get the chants going. We get a little atmosphere. Start drinking some beers, throwing some pies at each other. About to make this a
Yeah,
English
and I, I
hooligan
I
sport.
think sort of our region of the country in terms of grappling, I think it's something that's often overlooked. Like there's a lot of great schools here, whether it's a finishers or a bodega or, 10 Planet ELI, Bergen County Jiu Jitsu, obviously a great place. Our future PGF stars are, your kids that are coming into your classes brand new, your new adult white belts. These are people we expect to see out there. And we know certainly the lineage and the pedigree that you're coming from if you're, at one of these high volume schools in this area.
Yeah, I think it's only gonna get better too. Because I had a similar thing. I moved from New York to Atlanta. I trained in New York for a while, and obviously, New York, you got so many big gyms there. And then I came to Atlanta with a little bit of that kind of like cocky New York swag, thinking, "Oh, I trained in New York. I trained with some pretty up there guys. I should be good." Atlanta. I don't know any gyms from Atlanta. I never heard of any. And then I came here and just got completely smashed. And I was like, my lord, these country boys are something different. And there's not that many gyms, but each gym is just full of killers. And I think it's one of those weird things where there's maybe less gyms and less people training, but they're all, because there's less, they're all super dedicated, super hungry, and they just live and breathe competition and training. So I think we're going to get all of these kind of unknown pockets coming through soon once these guys start to, because some of these guys have only been training a few years, and I'm like, Lord, give me strength. This guy's been training half the amount of years than me, and he's just like ragdolling me like it's nothing. I know we kind of spoke on social media and how it's become less about the jiu-jitsu, but I think my old brain is like moving at a snail's pace. These kids are like seeing things online, figuring it out in the gym, and then hitting it in competitions the next week. So I guess on that note, what do you think the future is for you guys?
Hopefully a PGF Season 9 championships in our future. We'll take it whatever way we can get it. If we have to win by 1 point or if we go out and we sub every competitor that there is, we'll take it. In terms of ourselves as competitors, I'm competing next weekend at Finishers Open. Lauren maybe as well. I know she's got a bunch of super fights planned for later on this year, which we aren't announced yet, so I won't get into it. But you know, thank you too for having us on the show.
Oh, yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
for sure, for sure. So I guess we can kind of wrap because I think we've got about an hour in the
Or,
book so far. But just before we go, I know it's been sort of all business and all kind of the behind the scenes of it. But let's get into the jiu-jitsu real quick. For you guys, what's your preference? If you had to take one kit to a desert island, would it be a gi or a no gi kit?
The no gi kit, because if you're on an island, I mean, I'm going to be sweating under the hot sun and I'm going to want to cool off. And, if you got a no gi kit on, it's easy to just work out and then jump into the water and swim around. That's my preference.
I would say, said differently, but the same. No gi is the island of relevancy.
I'm team no gi all the way. Like I agree with that. I'm old, and it's funny because the stereotype that old people prefer to train in the gi, and I get it, it's slower, but every time I train in the gi, I just come back with something broken. Whereas no gi, I think the sweat helps me out. You get like into these slip and slides, and you can just kind of squirm out of stuff and not get too banged up.
great
I
guy.
know, John, you probably the most gi guy, yeah.
Yeah, I compete a lot
But
in
my
no.
next
in a lot in gi, which is annoying. I don't get it. I don't get it. I barely get to train gi. I do love it, but if you go in my room, you look at all my medals, the majority of the gold are gi medals.
That's funny. And then one more kind of off the cuff question. What's your biggest jujitsu pet peeve at the minute?
I would say when the new white belts come in and they're like college wrestlers and they think that they're gonna go out there and kill you, and then you inside heel hook them and they're like, "What the hell is that?"
Why can't I
Yeah,
walk right?
the college wrestlers are tough because I'll be in a competition and it's pretty easy to tell if someone has wrestling experience, and I love to start on my feet. That was ingrained in me. I'm definitely one of those people, but I'm not a seasoned wrestler either. So I go into the competition with the mentality, oh yeah, I could take these people down, and then that doesn't always turn out to be in my favor. So I'm learning more of the ground game, and that's where I'm at right now.
I
Nice.
take people
Yeah,
down when
I'm
I have to.
yeah. Yeah, I'm very much wrestle out of necessity and necessity only. I'm like, it's too tiring, man. I'm too lazy for that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have no choice.
Last question for me. What's your favorite sub?
I would say the electric chair, but sort of emerging the Kosovo cradle.
And then my favorite
Mm.
sub as a white belt was the mother's milk, the good old mother smother. And then as a blue belt, I love to play legs. I'm just really focusing on the straight ankle lock in competitions. However, behind the scenes in the lab, I'm working on a lot of other things. So hopefully be introducing those as I can.
Let's go.
Nice. Anything you want to shout out or plug before we wrap this up?
Absolutely. I'd love to shout out the brands that sponsor me. Shout out to Nomad Grappling Team. You can find them on Instagram. Shout out to Zombie Sport Co. They make great healing salves. Shout out to the PGF for making this wonderful league. Shout out to Finishers for being so cool to collab with us. A shout out to all the young athletes out there who are hungry and working hard and putting the sweat and leave it all on the mats. We see you. We appreciate you. We want to give athletes a shot when we're able to.
JRI Philadelphia Phenoms collab. What's up?
Let's talk offline. Let's figure something out. All right.
So there we go, guys. We did it. We made it through episode 2. It was a bit of a struggle, but we got there in the end. I think we're gonna get what are you saying, John? We had tens of listeners last episode. We're gonna get into the multiple double digits now.
Yeah, I mean now with the OGs Philadelphia Phenoms
Yeah.
on the show, stocks are only gonna keep going up, brother. I don't see why not.